Hey, welcome, Phaser. Yeah, no, I remember you. I remember you from the last streams and the comments. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I noticed it about 10 minutes after I finished the live stream. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna address it here at the start. It's really hard for me to go back and edit videos on YouTube, and I really don't feel like shelling out money for access to Adobe Premiere or something like that to be able to edit things and re-upload them. So it's going to stay up there. I did change the chapter title, so it says disregard as this is the incorrect gameplay loop. But yeah, we're going to talk about it today. So, but yeah, good catch. Good catch. Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, I'm hoping that people are getting some use out of them and are finding them of some benefit to them if they're playing through the games as well. But yeah, I do appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Welcome, everyone, to today's live stream, episode number 13 of our Elite Dangerous New Adventure gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval, and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So, admin notes, I'm still making some changes to the streaming overlays and channel layout and that sort of stuff after the new branding that went into effect on Thursday. Still got some things to work out, specifically with the overlays about alerts for new subscribers and new members and that sort of stuff. So right now, still in a bit of a state of flux. So if you see anything that goes wrong or an overlay pops up and I don't notice it on OBS, then please give me a chat. Throw it out there so I can try and take care of it as quick as I can. On my second admin note, I did want to give a shout out to a new channel member that we have, Chris Campbell. Off stream, became a member of the channel, so added their name up there to the list. At the top, I have all of the subscribers who have decided to become members on their own, and then obviously the channel member list that have been gifted by NapsterJoe and his never-ending support of the channel that I'm very, very thankful for. But again, shout out to Chris, since that happened off stream. Going to give you a shout out for becoming a member. Thank you again. I think that's it for admin notes. So on the recap, last week we were working on unlocking more engineers here in the bubble, and we did some off stream in between streams before the Thursday live stream, and then we unlocked some more while we were waiting, or while we were in that stream. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in here because there's something I need to discuss about the ending of last week's episode and the gameplay loop we were doing. So let's go ahead and jump in here. And I'm going to be in solo play today. Because, again, we're going to be doing some engineering. I'm going to be flying over to a system. I don't want to get grief while I'm in there. Okay, so the thing that I want to talk about is what we were doing in the gameplay loop at the end of the stream. And I think I'll be able to display it here. We were looking to unlock Colonel Bris Dekker. And as part of that, the initial contract is provide 1 million credits worth of federal combat bonds. What I was doing at the end was going and killing pirates around the nav beacon. And I wasn't really thinking about it. Like I say, it's been a really long time since I've done any of these unlocks, and I wasn't really paying that much attention. And I should have been, and that's my fault. I did, but what I was doing was I was doing the incorrect gameplay loop. I changed the chapter title while we were doing all that on the VOD from last week's live stream. Killing to indicate that it was an incorrect gameplay loop. Killing pirates is not what this contract is about. This is about combat bonds. There are two. What I was getting from pirates were bounties. Okay, now bounties are different than combat bonds. Bounties are what you get for killing pirates and that sort of stuff. Combat bonds are what you get for taking a side in a war or civil war or something like that. Some sort of physical conflict that is happening. Now, these combat bonds are specific to ship-based combat. You cannot get these from being on foot and doing federal combat in conflict zones. These have to be from inside your ship. And what that means is that I even noted it not to go into a conflict zone when I was during the live stream last week. But and that was kind of ironic that I did that, but that's what you need to be in, are conflict zones. When you enter into a conflict zone, a menu is going to pop up that says which side do you want to take, and you need to side with the Federation, and all of the other ships on the other side will immediately go hostile. You've taken a side now, you're in a conflict. And it's just a straight out fight until you wear down the reserves of the enemy and you're the last one standing. Now, when all those ships go hostile, they don't necessarily all aggro on you, but some of them might. If they're the closest ones to you, they might. And especially when reinforcements come in, if you are the closest ship to that reinforcement wave, they're going to aggro on you no matter what. So you need to have a ship that's built for combat. I currently don't, and I'm not going to buy an intermediate ship. I mentioned this last week, or on Thursday. I'm not going to buy an intermediate combat ship to go do these. So unlocking Bris Dekker here is going to have to wait until we rank up our Federation rank and we are able to get our dedicated combat ship. And then once we do that, it's going to be a breeze to come back here and unlock any of these combat-related engineers that we still have left. Because that combat ship, like I say, is the end-all, be-all of PvE combat. And we'll be able to go into any type of combat zone that we want to get those bonds. But I do need to apologize for that. I was doing an incorrect gameplay loop at the end of last week's episode. Phaser actually commented on that on one of the videos, and I responded that yeah, I had figured that out and had already changed the chapter title and was just kind of waiting until today to address it. But I did need to make that clear that there is a different gameplay loop that we're going to be doing a little bit later on once we have a combat ship to get those combat bonds. Okay, so yeah, I went and looked at that, Phaser. There's a bunch of posts on Reddit that discuss whether or not it is. The wiki still says that they do not apply. And there have been very definitive posts on Reddit saying no, it doesn't apply, with people putting up screenshots of it. Now, that all could be outdated. A lot of the stuff is from at least a couple of years ago. That still would have been during Odyssey, when we had on-foot bounties. But a lot of the posts are saying that just like there's a difference between like metals that you buy from a fleet carrier or from a station versus ones that you mine, there's a different hidden tag to separate the two of them. It's the same thing with bounties. Right now, I'm going to go off of in-ship bounties are what's needed. If I get a chance to do some testing on my main account, and, well, I can't do it on my main account, but because I've already unlocked them. But if I get a chance to run an on-foot mission here and manage to get a kill with my crappy loadouts that I'm going to have in a conflict zone, I'll try and turn it in and see if it counts or not. But for right now, I'm going off what the wiki says and like I said, what the majority of the posts are saying. But it may be different, and I'll come correct it later on. So, but we'll see one way or another. So, what are we going to do today? Because I was obviously not able to complete the Federation rank grind. I'm going to work on that dedicated this week, so hopefully next Thursday we'll be able to focus back on that. What are we going to do today? And I think today we're going to be exploring a new gameplay loop, and that is mining. We did a little bit of mining. I said I wasn't going to get too far into it, because all we needed was like 10 tons of osmium, I think, that was mined to be able to unlock one of the engineers. I mentioned then that you have to actually mine that osmium. You can't go buy it from somewhere and turn it in because it has a different tag. The game knows that you mined it. As soon as you sell it and it leaves your inventory the first time, well, actually, I take that not as soon as you sell it. As soon as it leaves your inventory the first time, the game knows it. So if you go drop it off in your fleet carrier and then you try and pick it back up again and go take it to turn into the engineer, it won't work. While it's in your hold, it has a mined item tag on it, and that's the only type that is needed for that osmium. So we didn't have any choice but to go mine it. The bromolite didn't have that requirement. You could either mine it if you wanted to, or you could go buy it from fleet carriers, which is what I did. Today, the reason I didn't mine the bromolite is because I needed 50 tons of it, and that would have taken quite a bit longer to do in my kind of cobbled together Mandalay mining setup. So today we're going to build a dedicated mining ship, and then once we've built it, we're going to go explore the different types of mining that are in the game. So let's first talk about our mining ship and what that needs to be. So I'm going to bring up my display here. If you were going mining back in the day, before all of the new ships started dropping, back in the day, the mining ships were the Python, because it was a medium-sized ship and it could land at medium-sized pads, and the cutter. I mentioned the cutter last week, the Imperial cutter. It's the highest end Imperial Navy rank ship unlock. Has a lot of cargo space, has a lot of weapon and hardpoint capacities, and all we had were mining lasers and mining lances back then to mine with, if you're doing laser mining. So you just needed to pack as many of those onto your ship as you could. Now mining has dramatically changed, and the mining laser is no longer a thing. And I will explain to you why that is when we start looking at our mining ship, which nowadays is the Type 11 Prospector. The Type 11 Prospector is a medium ship, which means that it opens up all of the medium ports available to us to sell our minerals or our mined materials, which is good. Having the availability of medium-sized pads to be able to go to outposts instead of starports to sell means that you have a lot more opportunity to sell at better prices at closer stations, so you don't have to jump very far, all of that sort of stuff. The Type 11 fills the mining role perfectly. I also mentioned, I had to clear my throat there. I also mentioned last week in the admin notes about the Rhino, the new to be released ship launched vehicle, or ship recon vehicle, that is going to be dedicated to surface mining. The Type 11 Prospector has a dedicated restricted slot that you're required to put a hangar in, a vehicle hangar in. And we never knew why that was there on a mining ship. Back then, all we could do was put fighters in it. And fighters are not the best thing at trying to protect you from enemies. They help, sure, but they're not necessarily the greatest, the thing you can rely on to do it all by themselves. So we wondered what it was for. Well, now we know. It's for being able to carry and launch the new Rhino ship launch vehicle. So this ship is now meant to be your end-all, be-all mining setup for all the different types of ship-based mining, normal mining, as well as xeno mining, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, as well as your ground-based mining, which has yet to be implemented in the game via the Rhino. So this is the ship that you really need to be focusing on for your dedicated mining builds, the old Python and Cutter builds. Not saying they're not useful anymore, but they're not as efficient anymore because of a special module that only the Type 11 Prospector can use. So let's go look at that. So the core internals here for your Prospector, and there's something I need to look at. Okay, for your Prospector are fairly straightforward. I keep lightweight alloy. It weighs 0 tons, and that means you can put heavy duty and deep plating on it at no, they're just free as far as weight goes. They all would cause or heavy duty would increase your mass by 30%, but since this weighs 0 times 0.3 is still 0, so heavy duty adding onto this, you get the 27% hull boost and the extra resistances for free, basically. So no reason not to put it on. My power plant, I always wait until the last, until I've completely outfitted it to see what my power draw is going to be before I pick my power plant. In this case, I need a 6A that is overcharged. I put thermal spread on it. I always put thermal spread on my power plants, except on my dedicated combat ships and my dedicated Xeno combat ships. I don't necessarily need thermal spread on this because of the way that the mining is going to be happening here. If you were using something that used mining lasers, thermal spread is a huge help because mining lasers generate a lot of heat. We don't have any mining lasers on the ship at all, and like I said, I'll explain that a little bit later. 5A thrusters, the highest grade thrusters with dirty drive and drag drive, help me maneuver around these asteroids easier. having a more maneuverable ship is very, very useful for a couple of the mining loops that we're going to be exploring here during this playthrough. They 5A FSD SCO pre-engineered. This is the one you need the Titan drive component. I'm not going to have this yet because I haven't farmed up another Titan drive component. I'll do that off stream and create this and swap it out. For now, I'll just be putting a regular 5A FSD SCO on it and engineering that, and then I'll replace it. I think I've actually got a 5A FSD SCO in my modules, so I think I normally keep one around just so I can do this. I can swap out to it temporarily while I go farm up a Titan drive component. Life support, like I always do on these, is just lightweighted sensors, the exact same thing, lightweighted. Now your power distributor, if you're using mining lasers here, a weapon-focused charge or power distributor is what you need. And you would normally want weapon-focused and super conduits, or depending upon how many lasers you have, you might have cluster capacitors. We're going to use a lot of power here, but not nearly as much as we would if we were using stacked mining lasers. So for this, I've done charge enhanced. That gets me a much better recharge rate at the expense of capacity, and super conduits, which again lowers my capacity but increases my charge rate. And we'll kind of see how that plays in with how we go mining. And that's really about it for the core internals. For utility mounts, I normally mount a couple of shield boosters. Depending upon where you're mining, you may get jumped by pirates. And in that case, I'm not fighting back against the pirates. I'm bugging out. And for that, I just need to have raw shield strength to be able to absorb a little bit of damage, boost my way out of the combat, get away from them, and then jump out of the location. And for that, I normally apply a couple of shield boosters here just to up my shield by large amounts here. Now this isn't plus 73.9 and plus 73.9. These are percentages, so there's diminishing returns after you start adding more shield boosters, but having 2 is perfectly good. The modifications, just heavy duty and super capacitors, which just give me straight shield boost. I don't care about recharge rate on these, so I'm just going for raw numbers here on both of those. So then I have 2 dedicated mining items in the other slots, and that's a pulse wave analyzer. I can't remember if I don't think we've seen a pulse wave analyzer work. The pulse wave analyzer is used for 3 of the different mining loops that we're going to encounter today. If you don't have it, you're not going to be able to do those 3 different types of mining. You're only going to be able to do laser surface mining. So I always carry one just because there's an empty slot for it, and it opens up all of the mining loops depending upon what material I'm looking for. The pulse wave Xeno scanner opens up an opportunity to do mining at the Thargoid Titan sites. There's a whole nother mining loop where you're not gathering materials, you're actually rescuing civilians that have been captured by the Thargoids and are inside their ships. And we'll talk about that. We're probably not going to be doing that today, but if you don't have the Pulse Wave Xeno scanner, you can't do that mining loop either. Okay. So our optional internals, cargo racks, big thing. I do have a couple of, I've got 4 of the expanded ones for 5Es here from the community goal. So I'm going to use 2 of them here. Now, whether or not I keep this one here depends upon where I am mining. what I'll do sometimes is I will swap this out. You can see right now my car capacity is 278 tons. Sometimes I will swap this out for a Guardian frame shift booster. That gets me a laden when I'm full up on cargo at 235 tons. So I've lost 43 tons of cargo capacity, which is about a little below 20%. It's something like 18%, I think, of my cargo capacity. To gain an additional 10.5 light years worth of jump range, which when I'm full up is a gain of 33%, basically, in my, well, it's a gain of over 40% in my jump range from my lower jump range when I have full cargo racks. This basically, when you have a cargo hold full of stuff, you're going to get jumped by pirates. Not all the time, but you're going to get jumped by pirates. So cutting down the amount of time that you have to spend jumping between systems, one, makes it quicker for you to get those minerals to a market that you're going to, but also lowers the amount of opportunities they're going to have to get jumped by pirates. So if I have a long way to go to get to a specific port, I will lose that cargo capacity to be able to jump further. So I kind of I have a FSD booster that I normally keep around, and I just kind of swap it out as needed for any particular situation I'm in. So cargo racks, end all be all. Now there's two ports here, or two spots here, which say restricted, okay? And those spots, you're going to start seeing this more often in specialized ships, where they have spots that you can only put certain modules in. And these two, if I click on one, I can only put Limpet controllers and of some various type in these. So recon Limpet controllers, decontamination or research Limpet controllers, or the various collector, fuel transfer, hatch breaker, prospector, repairs, or multi-limpet controllers. We haven't talked about these really. A multi-limpet controller allows you to do multiple different types of limpet controllers in a single module. These were introduced a few years ago. And they have a benefit, but also a big downside in certain things. So, for instance, the mining multi-limpet controller allows you to have one controller that fires collector limpets as well as prospector limpets. Okay, that's great. One slot that allows you to use both collector limpets. You can assign them to different firing groups, so they would work just like two different limpet controllers for those purposes. However, there's a major downside, and that is that they all have a number of limpets that are associated with them. In the case of this one here, it's a max of 14. Now what that means is that that same pool of maximum limpets is going to be used for all of your collectors and all of your prospectors. So what it does is, as you're flying around, and let's say you pump out a prospector limpet, okay, you drop that onto an asteroid, you don't like it, you move on to the next one, and you drop that off, and you find an asteroid you like, and now you start pumping out collector limpets. You're going to have to stop. You can't just hold it down until collector limpets stop coming out. You're going to have to count how many go out and stop it, because if you dump out 14 collector limpets, it's going to overwrite the prospector limpet that you just had out there. It's whenever you dump one out, it overwrites the oldest one. Okay, that doesn't work. That doesn't happen with the individual limpet controllers. If you have different limpet types, it will overwrite the oldest limpet type of a different one. Same thing with your Prospector. If you dump out 14 collector limpets and then you put out a Prospector limpet, it's going to overwrite the oldest collector limpet. So it requires a lot more micromanagement of your limpets using a multi-limpet controller. Now, the Prospector has this module here, which you see me installed, which is the Mark II mining multi-limpet controller. So if I look at the rest of the limpet controllers, if I look at the collector limpets here, I can put a 5A in here. Okay. You can see that my my collector limpets are limited to 3 limpets at once. Okay, that's horrible. Normally in the Python days and the Cutter days, you would have at least 3 limpet controllers. So you could pump out 9 limpets at a time to be able to keep up with what the materials the mining laser was pumping out. So you'd need 3 slots, module slots, to be able to get enough limpets out that your limpets materials weren't just sitting out there not being picked up. The multi-limpet controller, if I go down to the mining multi-limpet controller, you can see it only goes up to 3C to begin with. And if I put that in there, my limpet max only goes up to 4. The other thing it does is it only gives me a C class limpet controller for both prospecting and collectors. Now, there's something that you need to know here, and the Prospector limpet controller affects how well you're going to be able to mine. Okay? And here's what that number is. A C-class Prospector limpet controller, when it scans the asteroid, you're going to get a 2.5 times multiplier on the fragments that come out of that asteroid when you mine it. If you don't Prospector limpet an asteroid, you're going to have a 1.0 multiplier. You don't have to use a Prospector limpet on an asteroid. You can just go up to it and start surface mining it. Okay? But you're only going to get a set number of fragments. An A-rated Prospect limpet controller gives you 3.5 times the amount of material fragments that are going to come out of that asteroid. So by having a C-class mining multi-limpet controller, I'm only going to get 2.5 times the fragments, and that's bad. You want to have an A-rated Prospect limpet controller, and for this ship, they came up with a special module that is only for this ship, the 5A Mark II mining multi-limpet controller. Okay, you can see it's 5A, so it's going to have more limpets available to it. They're going to have longer range. They're going to have longer up times. But the big thing about it is it allows 14 limpets to be out at one time. They put that number in there so that you could have prospectors and collectors out at the same time. However, most miners don't do it that way. They just use this to have 14 collector limpets, and they put a different prospector limpet controller in. So down here I have a 1A prospector limpet controller. It only allows one prospector limpet at a time. That's not a deal breaker for me, but it's A rated. It doesn't need to be a big 3A or something like that. It just needs to have the A rating to get the maximum fragments out of it when I mine. Okay, so I'm going to be using this just for the additional collector limpets in one slot, and use a separate prospector limpet controller just for prospecting. Now, this you saw last week. We made this as a prelude for today, but also used it to level up one of the engineers that we unlocked. Okay. So the second restricted slot, if you click on it, all you can put in it is a hanger and a 5D fighter hanger. Now, right now, we're pretty sure that once the Rhino fully drops, that there's going to be a separate module for the Rhino launching here, because a fighter hanger we're pretty sure isn't going to be able to launch the Rhino. We think there's going to be a separate module here for that. So I'm not going to buy a fighter hanger to put in there. I'm going to wait and see if there's a separate module. If there's not, then I'll buy a fighter hanger later. But for now, it just doesn't really serve any purpose. Now, I always fly with a shield. I highly recommend that you fly with a shield, not just for pirates, but you're going to be bumping into asteroids all over the place sometimes inside these asteroid fields. Having something to soak up that damage is always really good. So I always go with enhanced low power and high cap on my non-combat vessels. Enhanced low power it gives me a lower power draw and a boost to optimal strength while taking more mass, and I'm more than willing to do that. And high cap just gives me a straight boost to my optional strength, or my optimal strength. For your refinery, a 3A refinery gets you 8 bins. Now that's arguably a little undersized. If I could put a 3A shield on this ship, I would probably swap these, but I can't. A 3A shield is not big enough. I swap these over and go here, and I go to shields. So, oh, I can put a shield on this. I thought I looked at this. Let me go put a hanger. No, none of this matters. It's hull strength. It's hull mass. 320. I thought I looked at this. I know I looked at this. $413 tons. Okay. Interesting. I know I looked at this because I don't ever put a shield. When I go to do my optional internals, I pick the lowest module size that I'm going to be able to fit a shield in. And I know I looked at that. That may change a few things. But yeah, okay. Well, I guess that worked out. So the 4A refinery gets me 10 bins, which we talked about that a little bit earlier. It allows me to mine up more different materials at the same time. But because of the way these minerals are going to be mined, having more bins is always useful with the amount of limpets that we're going to have out at a single time. So having the 4A refinery is good. There's no engineering on this. It's just shielded. I don't need that. The shield generator we've then put back to enhance low power and high cap. I always take a fuel scoop, just because I never know how far I'm going to have to get to a certain location. So I definitely want to have a fuel scoop out there. And there's my Prospector limpet controller we talked about. The advanced docking computer, I always have it on here just because if you're doing mining runs, it can be really repetitive while you're landing. And being able to just jump into a station and let it go and do its thing while you get up and go do something else while it lands is very useful. So I also want to look and see what my power... Okay, so it's still 76.6, so that's fine. So let's look at our hard points, because this is where we explore the different mining loops. So there's a special module here, a special module slot, says restricted on it, that you can only put mining lasers in on this ship. Okay. So the large slot, if you look at our mining lasers, there's nothing more than a class 2 slot. A large is a class 3. So I could put a 2D mining laser in if I wanted, or even a class 1 mining laser. But if I scroll down through this, none of these are more than class 2 until I get to this. Okay. This is a module that was made specifically for this ship, and it is only available on this ship. It works differently than the mining lasers do, and we'll see this in action. But what the main thing that this does differently is that it has a chance to pop out an extra chunk of material every so often, a bonus chunk of material from the asteroid. Okay, now that number, it's listed in the wiki. There's anywhere between a 20 and a 40% chance of it putting out an extra piece of material every so often. It's important to know that this does not override your mining lasers. So if you put, like, go down here to these small slots and you put mining lasers in here, those mining lasers do not have a chance of popping out extra chunks. They're just going to pop out the regular number of chunks, and that's going to deplete the asteroid faster and not give you as much opportunity to put out extra chunks using your volley repeater. So you're actually losing materials here if you add mining lasers in at the cost of speed of mining. So if you want to be the most efficient per asteroid, you don't put any extra mining lasers on this ship. If you want pure speed in filling up your cargo hold the fastest, then you probably want to fill these up with mining lasers, redo your power distributor to be weapon focused, and make sure you have a power plant that's able to support that when you put them on there. But for me, if you're going to use a volley repeater, you do not use mining lasers if you want to be the most efficient per asteroid mine that you do. So, but that's for surface mining. You just roll up to an asteroid, you shoot lasers at it, chunks come out, you pick them up. Subsurface displacement, seismic charge, and extraction and abrasion blasters we're going to look at when we get into core mining and subsurface mining. We're going to talk about those loops a little bit later while we're in the asteroid field. The extraction missile is what you use with the pulse wave Xeno scanner. You scan the Titan, it's going to pop up a location where you can shoot an extraction missile in it. The extraction missile is going to bore in. Once you have it explode, it's going to pop out those humans, those captured humans that you can go rescue and take back to a search and rescue contact. You don't have to have this on here. I have an empty slot for it, and this gives me all of the mining loops available in one ship. Then, once the Rhino drops, replace this with the Rhino hangar, and now I do all of the mining loops in ship and on surface, all in one vessel. Okay. So that kind of explains the ship build and what it is. So now let's go build this ship out. Okay. And to do that, the first place I'm going to go is to Sirius. That's because I know that this is a Li Yong Ri system. And I'm going to go to Patterson Enterprise. Well, I'm pretty sure. Let me go to Inara real quick and just make sure. I didn't search this beforehand, and I should have. So let me just pull up the outfitting search here in Inara. And of course, Inara's being slow. And we're going to look for the type 11. You guys can't see this. But I'm just searching for it in R real quick. Okay, so I can't do it. Oh. Okay, so I'm looking here. Alright, I need to search in Sirius. Sorry, I normally do this. Okay, yeah, Patterson Enterprise sells it. That's what I was making sure before I did it. So let's go jump to Sirius. And after the stream, I will put a Coriolis link and an Edzy link to the build in the video description. And feel free to experiment with it. Like I say, I put it together a couple of days ago, but haven't actually built it yet. I don't even think I've built it on my, well, I might have built one on my personal, or my main account. I don't do a lot of mining on my main account. I got all the credits I needed a long time ago, so. Okay, so there's Patterson Enterprise on the other side. So there is the mail slot. Boost away from the star. Okay, let's see where this is. It looks like it might be on the front side. Nope, it's on the back. We'll make our way around the back side of the planet. Looks like it's kind of down here at the bottom. Alright, so we'll land here. Now again, why am I coming to a Limpets system? It's again for that ship discount. I don't really need it at this point. And the Type 11 Prospector, it's going to cost a decent amount of money. But it's not one of the most expensive ships in the game. But it's a good habit to get into. But if you don't need the credits, you're probably better off heading to Jameson Memorial, where you can buy all the ships and all the modules in one spot. Okay, game, let's drop me in. It's being weird. Yeah, it's not letting me refuel. There it goes. It's being weird. Okay, so we're gonna go to shipyard here. Game's taken a while. It's laggy today for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I noticed this a little bit. Okay, and we're going to scroll through here until we get to... Whoops, we don't have to scroll here. It's right here. So... 56 million credits. The reason we're coming here is because we're getting the Limpets ship discount for this. The normal price, and I'm looking to see what that is. The normal price for a Type 11 Prospector is 67,861,850 credits. So we're saving about 11 million credits here in the cost of the ship. Now again, 11 million credits isn't necessarily a huge amount, but when you get into buying something like a Federal Corvette or a Panther Clipper I think is 301 million or 300 something like that. The Federal Corvette's 190 million. I think the Cutter's like 208 million. So if you're buying one of those ships, that could be a 60 million credit drop in price or more. So that's kind of why I think about it when I'm doing it, just get in the habit of coming to a Limpets system to buy my ship. So we're going to buy the Type 11. We're going to purchase it. It's going to store my current ship. Okay, I have never seen that in my entire life. What just happened? What? Oh, okay, here it is. 50, 56. All right, so I'm going to try this again. And yeah, what just... I have no idea what is going wrong here. How about I exit to the main menu and I come back in? The game is acting really, really weird. I'm not entirely sure why. I've never seen that message in 10 years of playing this game. Not a single time. Okay, so that's that 56 million. There it is. Okay, it says ship purchase now. I have no idea what was going wrong with that. So let's go back to our home station. You can see this is going to take me 3 jumps to get back there now. Let's go back to our home station and let's outfit as many modules as we can from our storage back at our home station. This is the other reason why I moved my home base to OU Geminorum. When I first started in the game,
ship is released. Depart safely from the
way
station.
back when, and I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit in game because the thrusters on this ship for some reason are really loud, and I think that probably blew out your ears if you were on headphones. I don't know why this one has such a volume difference in the thrusters. The reason I think my previous location was or where I started was at Diaguandri, I think, is where I was for a long time when I started this game. I moved up to OU Geminorum to be closer to Limpets space and the Sirius system so that I could go buy a new ship, then I could basically jump right back to my home system, outfit it with any modules I have in storage, and then head out to go to Jameson Memorial to buy the rest of the modules and start my engineering run. So that's another reason why I chose the home station that I did. It just keeps me close to a location where I can buy all these ships for cheap and then fly back and outfit them as much as I can. So you can see that my jump range is 15 light years right now, which is painful. It's painful to only have this, and I'll have to see if I have a 5A. I can't remember if I built one out before I bought the Titan drive component, the pre-engineered one. I'm hoping I have a 5A back in my stored modules list. If I don't, it's just going to be a painful set of jumps to Jameson Memorial.
Frameshift drive charging.
One more jump after this. And this ship, once you put the highest drive thrusters, or the highest grade thrusters on it and engineer them, is quite maneuverable. It's not nearly what my Mandalay is, obviously, but it is quite maneuverable. And that's, like I say, it's going to be very useful when we start exploring these mining loops in the last half of the stream. And the vision is not bad at all in the cockpit here. So if you're looking around, looking for an asteroid or that sort of stuff, using the head look function, it's got a lot of visibility in it. Now this thing comes with an SCO drive in it automatically. As one of the new ships that FDev has released, it's going to come already equipped with an SCO drive. It's just a crappy one. But it does come with one, so... And Hagnir City's at the bottom of the orbit. I'm going to have to be careful because right now she still maneuvers like a flying brick. So... I need to try not to crash into anything here. Alright, so let's see what we can do with outfitting here. Cross our fingers that I have a 5A SCO in here. Can't remember if I do or not. Okay, so let's go to our core internals first and see if I have... I do. I have a... And this is why I normally keep one of these around. This is the one that I had on my Mandalay, and I had fully engineered it with grade 5 increased range and mass manager before I got the pre-engineered one with the Titan drive component. The class 5 is in all the ships you're going to be seeing me buy. The class 5 is one of the most popular sized frameshift drives needed. So I normally try and keep a version of this around just so I can at least temporarily install it. And look at my jump range down at the bottom. I'm going to go to 39.54 on my jump range, where it was like 15, I think, or something like that. So it's a massive boost here. I don't need no. I need to equip that module. And then that frameshift drive, that 5E, I'm not going to need it. So I'm just going to sell it. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to have in here as far as core internals go. So let's look at my optional internals. So I'm going to keep the 2 Class 6 cargo racks. The 5E shield generator I'm not going to need, so I'm just going to sell it. Okay, so I'm not going to buy anything right now, but you see I have my 4 pre-engineered cargo racks from the community goal. So I'm going to equip one there. Going to equip one here. And now you can see there's the Mark II Limpet controller slot. There's the empty hangar compartment. It'll tell you if they're restricted by naming them a certain way. The advanced docking computer I'm just going to store for now. The Super Cruise Assist I'm going to sell. And I'm going to put the advanced docking computer back in there. In my class 1 spot. This class 1 slot, we should have a Prospector limpet that we already engineered with lightweight. Oh, and I forgot to transfer that. That's okay. We'll get that. Yeah, I forgot to transfer that last week. So we'll come back and equip that on our way out to the asteroids. So utility mounts, I don't think I have anything here. I have a shield booster. Oh, so I have OA and it's heavy duty and supercapacitors. So this isn't, the only difference is supercapacitors. I would normally have this as high cap on these. But I can go ahead and put these in. I like to make sure that my slots are the same. So, okay, so these two are on top center line. This one's on the bottom, and this one's on the top offset. So if I'm going to have 2 shield boosters, I'm going to have them mirror imaged up here. This is just my OCD playing. And then this slot will be the shield booster. These two will be the 2 pulse wave pulse waves here and here. Okay, hard points. I'm not going to need any of these. So I'll just sell them. Okay, and let's now go fly to Jameson. And we will buy the rest of our modules. Okay, it's only 3 jumps with our expanded jump range. Oh, let's go get there. And again, this is why if you're outfitting a ship and engineering it, you always want to do this in solo mode. You don't want to do this in open. These systems that you go to are extraordinarily popular systems,
Depart safely from the station.
and you stand a really high chance of getting griefed when you go into them. So there's no point in testing it. Just do it solo.
Frameshift drive charging.
The other thing, and we'll look at it in our next
Have a good flight, Commander.
in our next system here. I don't know if you noticed it when we bought the ship or not. Okay, so let's hop around the star here. Get lined up. And okay, so I'm going to the external camera, and you can see that the cockpit on this ship is offset. It is not centerline on the ship. To my left of the cockpit there is going to be where the mining volley repeater goes. So when you're leaving the mail slot, your ship is going to take up more space to the right of you than what you would normally think on other ships. So if you are exiting the mail slot manually, then give yourself a little extra space on the right hand side, so that you don't run into the mail slot or get caught in the cage because of it. It's one of the few ships where your seat is offset. The Python was the other major one and I flew that ship for hundreds of hours mining. That ship is a little smaller than this, so this one has a tendency, I forget about it, and I have a tendency to bump into things a little more often in this ship than I did my Python. But yeah, just be aware it's offset to the left a little bit.
Frameshift drive charging.
Once we land at Jameson, I'm gonna look at something as well. Because I'm pretty sure now that I swapped out to a lower shield, I can lower my power plant size. But I'll look at that here in a second. Shields are a major draw of power in any build. So if you drop the size of the shield, more than likely you're going to be able to drop the size of a power plant to go along with it. But dropping the size of the power plant simply means that I'll get extra jump range because it has lower mass for the smaller power plant. I only put a power plant in that's going to be big enough for me to support the use I need, so I can maximize my jump range that way. Okay, let's see what side Jameson's on. looks like it's on the top, on the back side. Yep. All right, so now we can make our approach. Try and line up the mail slot a little better. Here we go.
Lincoln, India, Romeo, uniform. Please submit a landing request on approach, Commander. Request approved. Please head directly for Bay 4-1.
Yeah, and I have no idea why the thrusters on this ship are so loud. I completely forgot about that. I think what I'll end up doing 41 is below me, and I probably overshot it. Because I can't maneuver in the ship yet. What I'll probably do is just see if I can turn down just the volume on the thrusters, so I don't forget it.
Docking complete. Perform landing checklist.
Okay, so let's outfit our ship here. So first, let me look at something. Let's get into outfitting. So yes, it looks like I can. So here I just changed this to a 5A power plant that is overcharged and thermal spread. Can I get a 6A that is low emissions? I can't. Deployed, I'm going to be over it by quite a ways. But 5A overcharged thermal spread, I'm at 94.6, so I'm still good. So yeah, I can use a 5A here. So let's go ahead and outfit this. So for my hard points, so there's this big dedicated slot here. There's the cockpit right there. And this, you could see it's a restricted slot. It's a large mining slot. So you can see that these three and this one here are dedicated to only mining modules. For this one, the only thing that you want to have in here is the 3C mining volley repeater. Okay, now she looks quite a bit different from the mining lasers that you could put on, and we'll just kind of look at one. No, we won't. But you'll kind of look, you'll see kind of everything's in a fixed module, and it puts out beams, mining beams that comes out. This thing does not do that. It shoots out projectiles, so it's a different way to mine slightly. This thing can also take the place of another module we're going to outfit here in a second, but again, I don't think most miners do it. So our medium mining hardpoint here is where I'm going to put my subsurface displacement missile. Okay. And that's on one side underneath. The other medium hardpoint on the underside is where I put the seismic charge launcher. Now, both of these things are projectiles that get shot out of your ship, and what putting them side by side gives me the ability to do is knowing that I line up on a particular thing I'm targeting the same way, regardless of which type of mining I'm doing. So I don't have to think about, is that projectile going to come out from the left side of my ship or the right side of my ship? Both of these are fairly centerline underneath the ship at the same point. So this class 2 here is unrestricted, but I'm going to put a subsurface extraction missile. And this is a repurposed mining tool used to extract Thargoid pods from under the surface of Titans. It works just like the subsurface displacement missile, except it's not mining materials, it's releasing captives. And then my last class 1 here is a mining only hardpoint. And for this, I'm going to put an abrasion blaster. Now, when you find asteroids with the pulse wave analyzer, sometimes they'll have surface deposits on them that you use the abrasion blaster to blast those deposits off. Also, when you're core mining and you break the rock apart, you'll see a bunch of surface deposits inside that you can use the abrasion blaster to break off. Now, that being said, the mining volley repeater, since it doesn't use beams, it uses projectiles. This can actually shoot those same deposits off the surface. All right. However, there's a couple of bad things about it. One, a lot of times these asteroids are turning, they're rotating in space, and that shot speed of 167 meters per second is really slow. So if you're trying to hit a moving target with it, it's not very easy. Also, the maximum range is 500 meters on those. Whereas if I go to the abrasion blaster, the shot speed is 667 meters per second. So the shots move a lot faster. So it's a lot easier to hit those moving targets. And the maximum range is double. Now, you could just use your mining volley repeater if you want. Again, just like the Prospector Limpet controller, the separate one, if you're going to be maximizing your mining, you probably want to have an abrasion blaster to be able to do that mining loop a lot easier. So for the rest of my utility mounts up here, I'm going to need a shield booster, OA. For these two, doesn't matter which one I want. I'm going to put my pulse wave analyzer up top. I always put an A rated on this just because the scanner range is 12,000 meters versus 24,000 meters. It gives me a lot more distance to be able to see out in front of me. Everything else about it is the same except for the power draw. So I always put an OA pulse wave analyzer. And then here will be my Xeno pulse wave Xeno scanner. Okay, and that's all of my utility mounts. Now my core internal, or my optional internal. So this is going to be, actually those cargo racks were not class 6s. I need to replace these with class 6s. And I'm going to sell that cargo rack. Now here I'm going to buy another class 6. Or am I not? Yes, I'm going to buy a class 6. Oh. Okay. So let's go back first to our core internals and change our thrusters to 5A. Okay, now go back to optional internal and put a 6E in. When it said module will exceed mass, that means that my thrusters couldn't move the ship if I put that cargo rack in there, because it's expecting that cargo, is planning for that cargo rack to be full of cargo. And my thrusters weren't enough to be able to move the ship in that case. So I had to upgrade my thrusters first. So my Mark II Limpet controller here, I'm going to go for multi-limpet controllers. And I should find in here a 5A Mark II mining limpet controller. My empty hangar slot, I'm going to leave that empty for now. The class 4 slot here gets a 4A refinery. The empty class 3 here is going to get a .3A shield generator. And I'm watching my retracted number down here. And then 2 is my fuel scoop, I believe. So put a 2A fuel scoop. 1, that slot is going to be for that Prospector Limpet controller. So now let's go back to our core internal. So lightweight alloys, what I'm going to keep. My power plant, this is going to be something that might not work now, but let's put everything else on this and then we'll see. So the life support is going to be 3D. The sensors are going to be 3D. My power distributor is going to be 7A. Okay, and now let's see what our power plant is here. If I put a 5A on this, yeah, I can support it. Yep. Okay. So those are all of my modules. Now you can see I'm way over here on my deployed power levels. So I need to upgrade my power plant. I need to engineer my power plant before that's going to work. Okay. So all of my modules, I'll get that set up here in a little bit. Now we're going to look at what we can engineer here without going to an engineer. We're going to do that in the engineer's workshop. And you can see that all of these are pinned blueprints. That's why we've been unlocking engineers. So, for instance, engines on my thrusters, I can put either clean drive or dirty drive on them right from here, from any location I want, and I don't have to go to the engineer to get this engineering done. Now, I have to go to an engineer to apply an experimental effect, but I don't have to go to that specific engineer that does grade 5. I can go to any engineer that allows any grade of engineering to thrusters to apply that experimental effect. Okay, so I don't have power plants unlocked yet. And that's probably the first one that I want to do. So let me... Who did we unlock that does power plants? So Haratani. I guess I'm confused about that. Oh, we haven't unlocked Haratani yet. That's why. She's part of the Imperial combat combat level up, and the power plant I would need, the way I engineered my previous power plant is by using when we were out in Colonia with Etienne Dorn, but there was no point in me power systems. Yeah, there was no point in me pinning that blueprint from out there because I knew I was going to get it here. I just haven't unlocked it yet. So let me see what other engineers do any grade of power plant here and see if we've unlocked them. Power plants are a difficult one because not a lot of people do them. So let me look through the list here. Yeah, Etienne Dorn does it. Felicity Farseer only does grade 1. Haratani does grade 5. Okay, Marco Quint does grade 4. All right, so let's go and engineer my power plant as much as we can. That's going to give me the most freedom to engineer the remaining modules that I have, because remember, we're using an undersized power plant and we need to be overcharged to be able to make this power plant work. So let's go to, we're not going to Egner City. We're looking for Marco Quint. And he should be pretty close. Yeah. He's right back at Sirius where we were. Let's head back there. We'll engineer our power plant at least up to grade 4. I will look and see if overcharged grade 4 is going to work. It will. It'll be at 99.6% utilization, but it will work. So that illustrates a good point that I didn't talk about. You don't have to engineer your modules to grade 5 all of the time. I normally do, just to get the most benefits out of them, but in a case like this on the power plant, I know that grade 4 overcharged is going to be enough. It's just barely enough, but it's still enough. So that means I wouldn't have to spend the additional higher grade materials to get me to tier 5 or grade 5 on the engineering modification. So if you really want to save materials, you want to optimize what grade you engineer all of your modules to. I'm normally not that worried about spending the extra 5 materials to get everything to full grade 5. But if you are looking to maximize your material efficiency, then you don't have to use grade 5 all the time. You can use lower grades. So the heat management on this ship is horribly bad. And then once I unlock Heratani, I will come back and upgrade this to grade 5, if I remember. To be honest, I might not remember. Okay, so let's go visit Marco here. Nice white dwarf star here, Sirius B, which actually is a thing. Okay, so looks like I might be on the face of this. Yeah. Might be on the other side. Nope, it's on the face. I need to slow down here quite a bit. And that's actually pretty close to the perfect approach angle, I think. Just need to get my speed down to around 100 kilometers per second. Hey, Mason, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. And hey, Dread, welcome. Good to see you again. Yes, and thank you for being here for the first Saturday stream you've been able to catch. I appreciate it. Yes, did go buy a Type 11. We've kind of explained the outfitting that we're going to do with it. We have fully outfitted it with the modules that we're looking for, except for one. And then we're now in the middle of getting some engineering done. There's not a whole lot of engineering that we're going to do on this. It's mainly core modules and utility modules, but there is a little bit of engineering to be done on this.
Warning, landing gear not deployed.
Landing gear deployed.
All right, and let's bring our power plant. We're going to be overcharged thermal spread. So I've got enough materials for all of this. Yeah, Mason, that's kind of what I explained earlier in this series, in that engineering is something that you really need to focus on earlier rather than later in your career playing this game. There's such a massive boost to be gained from engineering that the quicker you can focus on unlocking at least the majority of the engineers, the better off you're going to be. And for the experimental effect, I'm putting thermal spread on here. That extra heat efficiency is always needed. So, and I might as well pin his blueprint for overcharged. Well, I tend to use low emissions more, but I'm thinking about my next ship. It's going to be overcharged as well. So I'll just pin that just so at least I have grade 4 available from him. Yeah, well, Mason, if they've never believed you, they're just they haven't played the game very long, or they're just thinking that they want to avoid a grind up front in the game, and I certainly understand that aspect of it, but for the rest of it, it doesn't make any sense. There is no reason to delay this in any way. So the other thing that I want to look at before I leave here, he does power distributors, but I can't remote engineer here. You can't remote engineer at another engineer's location. Yeah, Mason, I certainly get that. What they don't get is that if they're going to go out and pew-pew, they're going to get owned by by NPCs who have engineered ships if they're not doing it themselves. So spending a little time prepping up front is going to make that pew-pew so much better for them. They just, like I say, they'll learn. So what I would like to do while I'm here is, okay, O'Brien Vision is now, yeah, O'Brien Vision is right out here. And I can reach it. Let's go dock at O'Brien Vision and we'll work on some more remote engineering. And we're probably going to pop back down here to add an experimental effect to my power distributor.
Ship restraints disengaged. Commence departure.
And now you can see I can boost, I can perma boost. By the time I boost once, and then my boost becomes available, I'm spamming the button. See, I never get the insufficient boost capacity. So I can perma boost with my power plant right now.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
And that's why, Dread, I went through so early on how to, and a loop of shame, how to do the material gathering for engineering, because it's really not that difficult. And encoded are by far the longest, but you don't need encoded for nearly as many important things as you do material and raw. So just getting that knocked out of the way so that you can get into the engineering grind and do whatever you want with it, it makes a whole lot of sense to me to do it that way. And that's kind of how I've structured my live stream. I'm not telling anybody, you know, that they have to go do one thing or another. You can play the game however you want. I highly recommend that you get into the engineering grind early on in your career. Once you've maxed out your engineering materials, it's much easier to upkeep them. And once you've done it, you can engineer a whole bunch of ships before you have to go out and go looking for some more. So now let's do my remote workshop here. And let's start looking at our other modules. So the power distributor here, let's see what I blueprinted. I did engine focused, so I'm not going to be able to do my power distributor. I want charge enhanced on this. So I'll have to go to the engineer for that. Engines, I'm going to be able to do. I need dirty drive here, so let me look through the material list. I'll be fine. Yeah, and now, Dread, the meta alloys are so much easier to get because you can literally farm dozens of them in the Titan wreckage sites. That's now a non-issue for new players. I remember having to go out to the Pleiades and look around ground sites to farm them off of the barnacles at the barnacle sites. I remember having to do all of that back in the day and how big a pain that was. But now with the Titan wreckage sites, that becomes so much easier. So shield generator, I have enhanced low power and high cap. So I did enhance low power, so let's see. I have plenty of materials. I think the materials I'm going to have a problem with are the things when I get into the MISC lightweight stuff. I think that's we're going to... I think I'm going to be running out of proto light alloys. But we'll see here in a second. But all the MISC lightweight is really doing is getting me additional jump range. So if I'm not able to fully engineer MISC lightweight on everything I want to, it's not the end of the world. Doesn't affect my power situation. Doesn't affect any of that stuff. Okay, so my shield boosters I'm going to hold off on. My armor, I have heavy duty, and I can more than enough do this. And again, after the stream's over, I will post both EDDZ and Coriolis links to this build in the video description. And if you missed it, M wanted me to post my Mandalay build. So I did that. It's in the comments to last week's video. Now that it is fully engineered, you have the link to both EDDZ and Coriolis links to that as well. Okay, fully done there. So FSD is already engineered, so we don't have to worry about that. Power plant's already engineered, so life support and sensors are going to be lightweight. So I need 10 proto lights for every one of these. So it looks like I'll have enough for 3 MISC lightweights. And I'm looking through my engineer list. I think I'll be good. So let's do both life support and sensors. I need 9 for each one, not 10. 4 proto lights for grade 4 and 5 of them for grade 5, so. Okay, and then sensors. The only time I don't use lightweight on my sensors is when I have a dedicated combat ship. Then my sensor suite becomes a lot more valuable to discriminate targets at longer range, and that sort of stuff. Otherwise, just drop all the weight and get jump range out of it. Okay, one more. Okay, so let's look at our modules. So, thrusters, I have full dirty drive. I need drag drive, so I need to go somewhere that does thrusters. And I definitely don't want to go to Chloe. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I know where I'm going to go. And then, whoops, I think I forgot one. I think I forgot my other shield booster I did. Plenty enough. And I don't know why I pinned blast resistant. I think that was a misclick out in Colonia. It should have been resistance augmented. When I head back out there and unlock the rest of the other engineer out there, I'll repin that blueprint. Heavy duty is what I use for most of my regular ships if I'm using a shield booster. Combat ships benefit from a mix of resistance augmented and heavy duty, as well as sometimes the element blocking depending upon what your build is, but I need to have resistance augmented up there, and I don't. Okay. So I can add experimental effects for shield generators, thrusters, and my frame shift drive at Elvira. I've already got the experimental effect on my frame shift drive, I believe. So I can do shield boosters, power plant, which I've already done, thrusters, and sensors. So I can do 3 at Felicity. So I can add 3 different experimental effects here at Desyat. So I'll be able to add it to, actually, I can only do 2 here because my frame shift drive and my power plant already have them. But this will get my shield boosters and my thrusters. And again, since you're just applying experimental effects, you can go to any engineer that has any grade level of engineering for that module. So Felicity only does grade 1 shield boosters. and grade 3 thrusters, but that means I can still apply an experimental effect to either one of those at any grade, because the experimental effect doesn't change from grade to grade. It's a flat bonus on top of whatever grade you're at. And now my heat management's quite a bit better on my ship. I would have been up to 70, 77, 79 going around that star, and now I'm at 67%. So my heat management's quite a bit better with thermal spread being applied to my power plant. Shields are actually the main detrimental factor in that. Shields soak up heat. So if you run shieldless, you're going to run cooler than if you're running a shield, and you're going to gain heat faster whenever you run a shield. And the power of that shield is directly proportional to how fast you're going to be gaining that heat.
Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, so we'll head out here. And again, if you were here in open, you'd know it. Because on a weekend, you would definitely have been jumped by now. It's just how it works. It's just how Dekker works. I normally never come to Dekker. I can remote engineer increased FSD range, and if I need to apply the experimental effect mass manager, I can do that through Elvira Martuk or a couple of other people. So I almost never come to Dekker anymore. So I don't know if it's calmed down or not. My guess is that it has not, because why would it? There's actually a website where you can go look up how dangerous the star systems are, and I wasn't paying attention, so I'm going way too fast. It might be in Inara. Actually, I think it is in Inara. That you can go look up how dangerous a star system is. And Dekker is always up at near the top of that list. Almost a perfect approach.
Access granted. Proceed to landing pad 07.
Landing gear deployed.
Alright, so let's apply some experimental effects here. You say, I think there's going to be two.
Touchdown complete. Engaging.
One of them is our engines
Arrival has been
that
noted.
we can apply drag drives to. And the other one is our shield booster. This one I think already has supercapacitors. So let's go look at our other one. Okay, and I want supercapacitors on this as well. Okay, so those two thermal effects are done. There are no experimental effects for sensors to apply. And I already have my power plant. It already has thermal spread. So let's look at our next one. Thrusters are done. So I need a shield generator. I can do that at either Didi or Elvira or Lee Chung. But that's all by themselves. Let me see if I can find anything else where I can do my shield generator. Not sure I can. Just looking through the engineer list. I'm doing this on my other monitor. There's no need for you to really see it. So yeah, either Didi, Elvira, or Lee Chung, whoever's the closest. Let me look through my list here and see what else I need. My FSD's done, life support's done, sensors are done, power plant's done, cargo racks I don't need. So all it is, the only thing I have left is my shield generator. So let's just go get that done. So let's see who's closest. Didi is 135 light years. Elvira is 295. And Lee Chung is 217. So it's going to be Didi. And then, once we get this last experimental effect, we'll head back to Hagner City, pick up our Prospector Limpet controller, which should be there by now,
Departure.
and we'll go out and we'll look at mining. We're not going to do specific mining right now. I'll talk more about targeted mining next Thursday. I just want to explain the mining loops today. But we'll explain how to find the best locations for those mining loops and all that sort of stuff next week, because we're also going to be explaining something called mining for merits next week. So my goal is that I'll have my Federation rank grind done next week, and we can spend the first half of the stream explaining a little bit more about mining and how you can mine for power merits for your pledged power, and how that will work. And then the second half, hopefully buy and outfit a combat ship. But we'll see how that goes. So how much money how many credits do I have left? 663 million, that's not enough. I'm gonna have to go mine quite a bit this week to be able to outfit my Corvette. I think, well, I know my Corvette is, on my main account, is by far the most expensive ship I own. It's like 200 million credits over any other ship that I own, I think. And it's almost 1 billion credits. It's 850 or 880 million credits is the worth of that ship. Now that includes the engineering that I've done on it. But I think the military grade armor that I have on it is some huge number. It's like 140 million just for that armor or something like that. So you need a lot of credits when you get into the big ships. Everything's bigger, everything's better, but there's a lot of engineering to do on that ship as well. The shield boosters, I think there's 8 shield boosters on it, and they're all combinations of heavy duty, resistance augmented, and I think I have a couple of specific damage type augmented versions in there as well. But yeah, I think it's got 8 shield boosters. You need to engineer all of those to grade 5. And yeah, it eats up your engineering materials really, really quick. So I've got my work cut out for me this week to try and finish the Federation rank grind and see if I can get that done. If not, we'll focus on mining, and then instead of building out a Corvette in the last half of Thursday's episode, we'll build out a Caspian Explorer. Because I'm fully expecting that I'm going to have to head out to Colonia again, and I want to have that ship ready in case I do. There's no community goal this week, so everybody's kind of heading back. There were people that were hardcore that kind of stuck around out there for a couple extra weeks. And they're going to be coming back next week, but they're still hanging around out there. So if FDev is going to announce another Colonia community goal, they'll announce it during this week, and it will start next Thursday. If not, probably won't get one for a while. So again, DD is going to help me engineer my shield generator, or put the experimental effect on my shield generator, and then we should be done. We'll do that last Prospector Limpet controller that we had to transfer. It should be there by now. Okay, wait for this thing to drop in. Not enough.
Orbital flight engaged.
There we go.
Docking permission authorized. You may proceed to landing pad 02.
Landing gear deployed.
Alright, so let's apply that last experimental effect.
Docking procedure completed. Ship secured. Greetings, Commander.
And this is high cap. Okay, and everything should be good. So we'll refuel. Let's launch, and we will head back to our home city, pick up that last module, and then we'll go mining.
Ship released. Departure authorized.
Frameshift drive charging.
And remind me to pick up my limpets before I leave. I'm relying on you for that, chat.
Frameshift drive charging.
Okay, how many jumps is it to home? 4? Okay.
Frameshift drive charging.
Hope everybody's having a good start to their weekend anyway. It's still hot as blazes where I live, so looking forward to getting back out into hiking again once the weather calms down and you're not gonna get heat stroke 5 minutes after you walk out the door.
Fuel skipping.
But American football season is also starting, so that's another big thing that's going to be conflicting with my hiking excursions this winter.
Frameshift drive charging.
Okay, so it took some heat damage there. So everything's still 100%. So not enough to damage anything. Just probably my hull.
Fuel skipping. Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, so let's pop this last module on, and we will go get stuck into an asteroid belt, or get stuck into a ring around a planet. We have a couple of planets here in OU Geminorum that have rings around them that we can go mine in. Like I say, these are not where you want to mine. We'll spend the first half of next week talking about targeted mining and that sort of stuff, where the best locations are to go mining. I'm not interested in doing that right now. Where's the mail slot? Not on this side either. Must be around back. So let me circumnavigate this a little bit out here. There it is. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm not interested in explaining targeted mining. We'll do that next week. About how to maximize your profits and that sort of stuff. I just want to illustrate the gameplay loops today.
Lakon, India, Romeo, uniform. Welcome to the station, Commander. Commence with docking procedures. Permission granted. Set course for landing pad 22.
Landing gear deployed.
All right. So first thing, before we do anything,
Landing completed. Engage
let's grab our limpets.
station facilities are at your disposal.
Now, how many limpets do you take? This is going to be based upon experience and how you utilize your limpets while you're mining. I normally take somewhere around 60%, give or take, of my cargo space as limpets. I'd rather have more than too few. I can always jettison limpets later on while I'm mining, but I try it. Filling up on limpets completely is useless. You're never going to be close to using as many limpets as you do get as cargo tonnage gathered during these things. So I normally do about 60% of my cargo is limpets, and then I can discard them as needed. So let's pick up that Prospector limpet controller, put that in our last slot. I want to look at my power because Edzy says I'm at 99.6%. I want to make sure that that's calculated correctly. So yeah, down there on the bottom, where it's deployed. So I'm using 26.49 and totals 27.13. So let's make sure we can put this last limpet controller in here. And it's already engineered. We did that last week, so yeah, it is. 26.77 megawatts used, deployed, and 27.13 megawatts available. So I've maxed out my power plant. It's the absolute smallest size I can get it. The cargo hangar here, if I wanted to add that in, that would put me over the limit. I would definitely need to have a different power plant for that, but since I'm not at that point, I'm not worried about it. Everything else is engineered. Right? Overcharged thermal spread. I need to quit clicking on it. Dirty drive, drag drive. Increased FSD mass manager. Lightweight. Oh, I didn't engineer my power distributor. Oh well, I'm not going to spend any more time doing it. I'll do that off stream. And lightweight. My utility mounts. Both of my shield boosters are heavy duty super caps. Yep. Can't engineer any of those. My optional internals, I can't engineer the Mark II. You can engineer the other Limpet controllers. You can't engineer the Mark II. The refinery could get shielded. I don't need it. So, enhanced low power and high cap. I could get shielded on fuel scoop. Don't need it. And my Prospector Limpet has missed lightweight on it. So, yep. Except for my power distributor, I'm fully engineered. So now let's do what it says and set my fire groups. So inside here, my first one is normally always my my exploration stuff. Okay. Then I normally break this into the different types of stuff that I'm doing. I'm prospecting at the same time that I'm using my pulse wave analyzer. Both of those find me the asteroids that I want to go looking at. Once I've found the asteroids, then I'm going to be using my mining volley repeater and here it is, and my collector limpets at the same time. Okay, now if I am doing core mining, then I'm going to be using my seismic charge launcher and my collector limpets at the same time. If I'm doing displacement missile mining, I'm using that and my collector limpets at the same time. And if I'm doing core mining, what I normally do with these two is instead of putting my collector limpets here, I leave my collector limpets on with my mining volley repeater. And if I'm doing core mining, I normally put my abrasion blaster on with that instead of here. So you need to be using your abrasion blaster while you're doing this. The extraction missile and the Xeno pulse wave scanner are an entirely different scan and an entirely different gameplay loop, so I have those on a separate. So I normally have a bunch, if I'm doing a single ship that has all of these in it, I normally have a bunch of different fire groups here. So can I go over sometime the ship module power levels? Phaser, expand on that a little bit. What exactly do you need? And maybe I'll prepare something for another episode. But just give me a little bit more information about what you're looking for, like how the different grades affect power levels, or how power levels in general are calculated and that sort of stuff. Just let me know a little bit more. So what we're going to be doing to head out right now is you're looking for planets that have rings. Okay, rings are made up of asteroids, and you have different types of rings that have different materials that are in them. Again, I'm not going to focus on that right now. I'm not going to focus on targeted mining and where you should be going to look at stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. this one here, because I think 7 and 8 I want to go look at. Yeah, 7 or 8, either one are fine. So I'll go to 7 here. But any of these planets that have rings are going to have places that are easy for you to go mining in. Oh, okay. So you're talking about the priorities for setting your modules in case you do not have enough power.
Ship is released. Regulate your speed until free of station perimeter.
And yeah, what he's talking, and I won't go into it now, but what he's talking about is that priority over there at the right. All of my stuff is set to priority 1 with the exception of the cargo hatch. But you can adjust this priority to be whatever you want. I can explain how that works a little bit later. I tend not to try and use it with the exception of my Corvette. Because I can't get a big enough power plant to power everything I need, but that's what the priority does. It basically says if you exceed your power levels, it's going to shut off modules in a certain order, and what order do you want me to shut them off in is basically what it's doing. And you'll see that when I try and build out when I build out my Corvette, because there isn't a big enough power plant in the game for me to run everything that I want to run on my Corvette, so I have to set tiers, and you'll kind of see more of that. But yeah, remind me, Phaser, and when I'm building the Corvette, I will talk about that then as well. So there is something that I missed that I realized I don't have. And I don't know why I didn't include it here. Yeah, there's something that I didn't have here. And this is why I forgot when I put this build together, I didn't do this. Let me make sure. Yeah, I needed to... I'm looking at my other screen here real quick. Why don't I find it? Oh, that's why, because it needs to be here. That's why I didn't see it. Okay. Yes, there it is. So, there is something that I missed. I will explain that on this build. I will explain that next week when we talk about targeted mining. For right now, I'm not going to need it, because I'm not talking about targeted mining right now. What I'm going to do is, I know that this blue ring here is an icy ring. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop into it. Don't pay attention to exactly where I'm dropping in or how I'm dropping in. That's not the goal of what I'm going to be showing you today. We'll talk about that next week when I talk about how to find the best mining sites and that sort of stuff. You have resource extraction sites in these rings that have different danger levels, low, medium, and high. All of that sort of stuff. We'll learn about scanning these rings for hotspots and what that means. We'll learn about the quality levels from low up through pristine. We'll learn all about that stuff next week. Right now I'm just going to drop into this ring anywhere, and we'll also talk about the different colored bands and what those mean and that sort of stuff. For now I'm just going to drop into one of these because I don't really care. I'm just going to illustrate the mining gameplay loops here real quick for the last bit on the stream. Okay, so when you're mining, always have your night vision on. It just makes everything so much easier to identify the asteroids and what their spin rates are and how they're spinning and all that sort of stuff. The other thing that you want to do is set some sort of waypoint. Like right now I'm targeted onto OU Geminorum AB7. And you can see in the bearing indicator at the bottom left that that's almost immediately to my direct right. You want to, as you're going through this and you're working your way through an asteroid field, you want to keep that bearing indicator in the same location. You can turn left and right all you want, but you want to make sure that if you're going and you're doing a new search for an asteroid, you want to be not doubling back over areas that you've already searched in. And that means keeping that bearing indicator on your right when you're searching for new asteroids is definitely something that you want to be aware of. Okay? So, how do we do laser mining? Okay? So, the first thing you can do is just go up to an asteroid and start shooting it. That's not the way you want to do it, because the Prospector Limpets can help you gain more materials from an asteroid. And I explained that earlier during the outfitting section. Okay, so you want to shoot a Prospector at an asteroid, and it's going to take off, and while it's in flight you want to target it. You don't have to do it while it's in flight, but it's easier if you do. And it's going to tell you exactly what's in that asteroid. So this has water and bromellite, and material content is low. The material contents on these are almost all going to be low because of the ring I've chosen. But water and bromellite, I don't care about any of them. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next asteroid, and I'm going to shoot a Prospector at it. Okay, you're going to get cargo limpet failed because I'm only allowed to have one Prospector limpet out at a time with this limpet controller. Okay, and here we have more things. Hydrogen peroxide, 11.94, and the other things, again, not anything that's very useful. And I'm hoping I see something actually on this asteroid now that I'm looking at it.
Programming limpet drone. Cargo scoop deployed.
Okay, so I don't. So got some, again, fairly benign things. And again, I want to keep that planet on my right side.
Prospector limpet failed.
I'm hoping to find something that's actually going to be useful for me to mine, but if I don't, I'm just going to start mining, because I'm not going to care. I'm just illustrating the gameplay loop, not necessarily the best things to go mining for or that sort of stuff. Now, there's a whole bunch of asteroids here, and you're seeing me skip a bunch and head towards other. Why is that? It's less efficient for me. I'll grant you that right now. But I like to find asteroids that aren't spinning very much.
Prospector limpet engaged.
That makes it easier for me to do laser mining later on
Complete. Prospector limpet
if they're not spinning very much. So like that one's spinning really hard or really fast. So here we go. We have something that's useful. Low temperature diamonds. This used to be the thing back in the day.
Scan complete.
So now that I have them, how am I gonna... I'm gonna change my fire group to the volley repeater. And I need to orient myself on this asteroid. Now, I want to orient myself in a way that the asteroid, I'm looking down the axis of rotation. So that if I'm looking at it, it's spinning in a circle around me. Okay? And it's not gonna slam into me here in a little bit. So I kind of position myself around, and this looks okay. So now I'm gonna get close to it. I'm gonna aim at the bottom of the asteroid and start firing. And I need to have all my power into weapons at this point. And you can watch the minerals remaining in the bottom right, or bottom left. And you'll know when you're out, when the asteroid's depleted. Okay? And it's going to pop out all these chunks out here. Okay? So now, don't select any of the chunks. Alright? Don't do any of that. What you want to do is, with the chunks unselected, you want to pop out all your collector limpets. And just hold the button down until you can't do anymore.
Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone.
They're going to go out, and they're going to start picking up all those materials.
Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone. Programming Limpet drone.
Okay, and there we go. And then the last thing you want to do is position yourself kind of in the middle of this debris field, so that your limpets don't have far to go. And you can see them going out and collecting, and you want the materials to be underneath your ship. Your cargo hatch is on the bottom of your ship, so you want it to be there. And again, you want to watch out so that you don't get hit by the asteroid when you're in your position. So if you need to move around, then do that. Okay. Now again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to be explaining much about how to get the best yields out of these things and where to go mining and all that sort of stuff. That's going to be for next week. And Memphis, welcome to the stream. To your commander, or to your sentence or your question, is there a way to tell if an asteroid has material by the shape or other physical aspects? Yes, there is a way to do that to a certain extent. I won't explain that today. I'm going to be explaining that more next Thursday. Once you've picked up all the materials, your limpets are going to be orbiting below you. I can then change back to my Prospector limpet controller, and I can go back to mining the asteroid field, looking for new asteroids, keeping that planet on my right. Okay?
Programming Limpet drone. Prospector Limpet failed.
And I was going too fast. Okay. So this one has bromelite in it, which I don't really need or care about. But that's what laser mining is. Okay? You go, you shoot a Prospector limpet at an asteroid, you find something that has good percentages. Now, normally the 10% asteroids like this, I don't mind. I look for those asteroids that have a high percentage, something over 20%, and start mining those instead. I don't normally spend my time on the lower percentage asteroids. I tend to focus on the higher percentage ones. It means I'm flying around more, but it means that I'm filling my cargo hold quicker at the end of the day, because I don't have to spend a lot of time mining low percentage asteroids. Okay. So now the next gameplay loop, we're going to look at core mining and subsurface mining. Now to do that, you need something to add something else into the mix, and that's the pulse wave analyzer. So I'm going to shoot out a pulse, and the asteroids are going to turn different colors. Okay, you saw it, and you normally want to be above or below the asteroid field when you activate your pulse wave analyzer. And you can see that they have different colors. You're looking for the ones that are bright yellow. The brighter the yellow, the more material or the more chance you're going to have of doing something special with that asteroid. And then once you find one that's brighter yellow, like this, you're going to shoot a Prospector limpet at it. Now I know that this one, I'm looking at it, and I'm going to hate mining this one. Okay, good. It didn't have anything. It's got tritium, which is nice. Oh, it does. Okay. So, once the Prospector limpet has finished its scan, you're going to see these different icons pop up. Okay. Now, these are sites that you can engage with a different gameplay loop. All right. Now, I know what these are. So, if you look over at the left, hydrogen peroxide in a subsurface deposit. That means I'm going to need to use subsurface displacement missiles on this asteroid. And this one's going to suck because it's rotating fast and it's jammed in amongst all these other asteroids. But I'm going to do it anyway for the lol. So I'm going to select this one. You want to be lined up on it, and you're going to shoot and hold the trigger of your displacement missile. And over on the bottom left, you'll see deploying drill, and you wait until it hits one of the blue lines. Okay, and then you release it. When it hits that blue line. Okay? And it will say extraction successful. If you miss it, you're going to have to fire another missile. Now, the other thing about it is you see the density above it. The density indicates how many materials are in that particular location at the time the blue line hits it. So you're theoretically looking for a blue line that has a high density on it. Not necessarily just shooting at every blue line. And I'll illustrate that here on this one. I'm going to hold the trigger down and scroll through it a little bit. And see, that's high density on a blue line. So it's going to pop out more chunks when I hit that blue line. Right? So subsurface it's got a little mini game to it. And that one's kind of low, that one's kind of high. So I'll eject it. Okay, and this one. And I missed that one. See, I intentionally missed one to kind of show you what you see. You're going to see extraction failed. Okay. So let's look at this one. And see, I skipped a couple of lines to get one that had a higher density on it. And normally what you would do is you would follow a single one around your asteroid. Instead of switching like I'm doing, you would kind of be moving at the same time you're doing the minigame. Whoops. And that one's now depleted. And you would do that until you deplete the subsurface deposit. But it takes a lot more to do that, because I'm having to watch bottom left while still maneuver my ship at the same time. So it takes a lot more hand-eye coordination to do that. And especially when this thing is spinning so fast, it makes it a lot harder to do. I'm having to concentrate here, so I'm not talking. Because especially trying to hit those single line ones. Whoops. And that one's now, depleted. So this is what subsurface mining is. Now, this used to be the thing. They buffed this back in the day. And they had to nerf it because they buffed it too much. But this used to be the way to mine low temperature diamonds back in the day. Because everybody was just surface mining and core mining, and they wanted to try and get people to try out some of the other mining methodologies. So they buffed subsurface mining, and they just buffed it way too hard. And had to go back and redo it. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and mine out the whole asteroid. But that's how subsurface mining works. Okay. So now again, I'm going to put the planet on my right side. And that's why you need a shield. And I'm going to get up here, and I'm going to change back to my pulse wave analyzer and start looking for another one. Okay, and what I normally do is kind of move 45 degrees off to each side while I'm doing this. That one looks pretty bright yellow. This one looks really bright yellow. And that is going to be fortunate, because I'm pretty sure I know what I found.
Prospector limpet failed.
Oh, I didn't. Little must be just a tad short, because that thing's really bright yellow. Okay, it did find subsurface on it. I'm not looking for subsurface though. I've already seen that. This one I don't think has it. This one doesn't look bright enough. Hey Jenny, welcome. Welcome to the stream. And this one I know doesn't. It's not the right shape. But we still haven't seen anything for the Abrasion blaster by itself. So I'm going to scan these anyway. But I know this one is not right, because I know it's not the right shape. And we talked about this earlier. Yeah, okay, so there's something I can get with the Abrasion blaster. So you see the icon. You see that one, it's got a semicircle, and then it's got the dot is on the bottom of the semicircle. Here, this one's got the semicircle with the dot on top. This is a surface deposit. Okay, and for that you need the abrasion blaster. It will, you shoot it, it will knock that thing off, and now your collector limpets can go collect it. Okay, so sometimes you will find these. This has also got a subsurface deposit here of bromolite. But sometimes you'll find asteroids that just have surface deposits like that, and you can go use the abrasion blaster to shoot it off and go collect it. The abrasion blaster also has another use, which we're going to see, hopefully, if we find an asteroid that we're looking for. That one looks pretty bright yellow. That might be the one that we just scanned. Well, no. The planet's on my right. This actually looks like it might be okay. We've got 14 minutes to find the last type of asteroid. Actually hoping this isn't one. I'm looking at it right now. Okay, it's not. Good. I didn't want to have to do that one. It was spinning really fast. Okay, that one over there I know is the wrong shape. And this is another benefit of being able to have all 6 degrees of my flight axes. I can fly sideways while I'm looking in another direction. I don't think this is one either. It's not. I'll hit it anyway, but it's not bright enough. And again, it's moving. Even if it was, I wouldn't mind it. It's spinning probably the fastest that an asteroid can spin. Yeah, it's not. Neither one of those are bright enough. That one's pretty bright, but I don't think it's bright enough. Yeah, it's not. It's the right shape, but I don't think it's bright enough. Oh, it's looking pretty bright. It's the right shape too. This might actually be one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is. It is. I can tell already. I can see it on the surface. Oh, oh yeah, it will be here. Give me a second for the scan to complete. Okay, so no, it just has a bunch of surface deposits. And that's what made it so bright. It's got tritium, which is nice. Okay, but again, not what we're looking for. The more deposits an asteroid has in it, the brighter yellow it's going to be. That one is not. It's close, but it's not. It's not the right shape either. So it's got some sort of deposits in it, but it's not the one I'm looking for. So the color, it's always going to be this gold color. Okay, and that the color does not indicate, yeah, see, this has more subsurface and a surface in it, surface deposit in it. The color is always going to be this yellowish gold color, and the color doesn't change depending upon what type of mineral is in it or anything like that. So it's just the brightness indicates it's not just a surface mining asteroid. It's got some other sort of deposit on it that you can mine, and the brightness of the color will tell you how much of that of material, or how many materials are inside of it. So there's one here. It's the right shape. I don't think it's bright enough though. Yeah, I don't think this is bright enough. It is the right shape though. I do see possibly the fissures, but I don't think this is one. Guess I didn't think so. It's not bright enough. Here's another one, doesn't look bright enough. So when it comes to, and this is something I'm going to talk about more next week, Jenny, and I'll just illustrate, I think I know what Jenny's comment is asking about. Let me put a Prospector limpet on this. Okay, and you'll see down there in the bottom left the list of materials. The list of minerals that are that are available are determined by the ring type that you're in. So icy rings are going to have certain minerals, metal rich are going to have some, metallic rings are going to have different ones. So the type of ring that you're in determines what is in that list. Okay, so I'm in an icy ring, which means I'm going to get certain materials, but not others. The material content down there in the bottom where it says medium is determined by the type or the quality of that ring that you're in. Each ring has a level of reserves in it. That's what the game calls it. And each reserve level is going to have a higher percent chance that the asteroids are going to have a higher material content in them. Okay? I'm not really explaining all of that and how to maximize that today. That's going to be for next Thursday. This ring, I know, is a low reserve level ring. Okay, so I'm not going to be finding a whole lot of great asteroids in this thing. It's just not possible because of the ring I picked. We'll talk more about targeted mining and that sort of stuff for how to maximize your output in these on Thursday next week. But every asteroid in this ring has the potential to give you every material type. Well, almost every material type. There are certain that are available inside this icy ring. There are certain materials that you can only get from subsurface mining or core mining or surface mining. So I may not be able to get, for instance, like monzonite or something like that from surface mining with my volley repeater. I have to go core mining or subsurface mining to find that. But there are other things that I can find through regular shooting it off the surface with my volley repeater. That is, again, something that we're going to talk about next week when we look at targeted mining and how to maximize your yield per mining trip. That's correct, Red. Every asteroid has certain materials in it. Sometimes those materials are not valuable. I will tell you, kind of leading up to next week, in that the most valuable materials in the game that you're going to go mining for are going to be in these bright yellow asteroids. They require you to go core mining to find them. Most of the stuff that you can do, and I say most because there are some notable exceptions, but most of the stuff that you're going to be looking for that sells at a high value per ton is going to be through core mining. And that means you need to search for these bright yellow asteroids. That one is bright yellow, it's the wrong color, or it's the wrong shape. But let's see what it has. It probably has subsurface deposits in it. Because yeah, it's definitely the wrong shape. Yeah. And you'll know it when we find it. The brightest yellow asteroids will not even kind of look yellow. They will almost kind of look a little transparent. Now that one actually is promising. It's the right shape. And it's bright yellow. Yeah, this is probably one of them. So I'm going to pop a Prospector on it. What do you know? So you'll know a core mining asteroid because you'll see core detected over there on the left, and now we get a different icon. We now have an icon that's a semicircle that's got a V in it, and that indicates that there's a fissure in this asteroid. And that fissure is something we want to drop a seismic charge in, and you can see I've changed in the bottom right to my seismic charge launcher. Okay, now you see that there are 3 bars under the seismic charge launcher. This is another mini game like the subsurface launcher is, but the seismic charge launcher shoots an explosive charge into the fissure. You can give it a low, a medium, or a high explosive charge inside of a fissure. Once you've put an explosive in a fissure, you can't put another one in that fissure and you can't modify it. The goal is to put enough explosives into this asteroid to crack it open, but not enough, but not too much, or else the explosion is going to destroy some of the minerals inside. Okay? Now you do that by varying the level of explosive charge that you put in to the asteroid as a whole. Now, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to explain this because a timer's going to start when I get in this. But you always want to start, you select the fissure, and you hold down the fire button until you get a level 3 charge, and then let it go. And I missed. Hey, why did I... It's this one here. So why did it miss? Oh, that's a surface. That's a surface deposit. I hit the wrong one. You need these, the asteroid fissures. I was shooting at a surface deposit. I was like, what's wrong with that? So always your first one, shoot the highest possible yield you can at it. In the upper right hand corner, there's a detonation time. It's going to be 2 minutes. And you can see the yellow markers are telling you how much explosives are in it. So this one, I'm going to put another high explosive in it. You can see how much it moved it up. Now I'm getting closer to the blue line. So I'm not going to drop a high yield in it. I'm going to drop a level 2 yield in this one. Okay. And I'm getting closer to that line. There you go. So it says optimal yield range. And now I can do one of 2 things. I can either wait for the timer to run out, or I can back off. You want to be 1.25 clicks or more away from the asteroid. You don't have to wait for the timer to run out, though. You can go to contacts, and anything, any fissure that has an explosive in it, you can detonate now. And it will change that timer to 10 seconds. And now watch what happens, because this is one of the coolest things in the game. Okay, and now it's going to split that asteroid open. And there's going to be surface deposits, which you can now shoot with your Abrasion blaster and knock them off. Okay, and this is again why it helps to have a maneuverable ship, because you're going to be flying around the inside of asteroid debris, targeting these various locations. And normally I would have my collector limpets out right now. And they would be farming this asteroid while I'm using my Abrasion blaster to knock the rest of the stuff off. Okay. But in this case, what I'm going to do is switch back one to my collector limpets. Whoops. And knock out some collector limpets and have them go looking. Now, the core materials, these chunks that are out here, there's a lot of materials in it. So let's go over and look at my inventory, and here's my refinery. Oh, yeah, I don't have my cargo hatch open. Now you can see that each one of these chunks is gonna almost, look at the granditerite one, it's 85% down there. Watch when the limpets come back and deposit another one of them. You see how quickly it goes up? Every time it hits 100%, it refines 1 ton of material. The materials that are ejected from a core are really rich in that material, so it fills up that 100% bar really fast. The chunks that get blown off with your volley repeater are going to be much lower quality and not have as much of that material in it, so it takes longer to fill up that 100% bar. The thing is you see how long it took us to find this core asteroid compared to just going around shooting a prospector and shooting a bunch of low quality stuff off the surface. Okay, so there are upsides and downsides to every one of the mining loops in the game. But like I say, core mining is where is only certain, or some materials are only available through core mining, and others are available through other ways. You're not going to find a core of every material in the game. So some things you will only be able to find subsurface or surface, or just by laser mining. So there are 4 different types of gameplay loops there that we kind of look through. The first is going up, putting a prospector limpet on it, and using your mining volley repeater. The next one is putting a prospector on it and using your subsurface displacement missile. Okay? Sometimes when you put that prospector on it, you find a surface deposit, and you can use your Abrasion blaster on it as the 3rd mining method. And then the 4th mining method is to put the prospector on it. If it's a core, you use your seismic charge launcher to crack the asteroid open, and then you can also use your Abrasion blaster to then blast stuff off the surface. Okay. So that's just a quick introduction to the 4 different mining methods that we have in the game. So next week, I'm going to be more focused on how do we find the higher density of cores? How do we make it easier to find core asteroids? How do we find the most valuable materials inside the game by finding different planetary systems with different ring types and quality levels? And then how do we match that up with, if we're going to be mining and we're earning credits, can we also earn any merits for our power rank ups with that? So that's what we're going to be do next week. Is mining the most lucrative operation in Elite? So it's a good question, Jenny. Here's what I will say. The most lucrative method for gaining credits, which is what I think you mean by this, in the game, is all done in a wing, meaning you do it in multiplayer. You do it in open, you have some friends that join up with you, and if you're in a wing together, then everybody gets bonuses to their payouts. Now, whether that's mining and you go sell your materials and everybody gets a bonus from that, or whether it's killing pirates, it's all done in a wing. Now, stacking massacre missions for pirate killing is probably the most lucrative in the game right now, outside of Thargoid combat. Insta-gibbing basilisks is probably the second most lucrative way of earning credits. That is a very end game type of thing to do, though. Mining is probably 3rd or 4th on that list of the most lucrative ways to make money in the game. Especially if you get good at something called mapped mining, which we will talk a little bit about next week as well. If you're good at that, mining is definitely the 3rd most lucrative. If you're not good at it, then mining is maybe 4th or 5th most lucrative method of earning credits in the game. It used to be the end-all be-all. It is still very, very good, but it is not necessarily the best anymore. I will have to say that. But it is still very, very good, and it's very low risk. Takes an easy ship to build to get into it. There's very little risk to this while you're doing it. So it's an easy way to make credits, but not necessarily the best way, credits per hour. So, but we'll be exploring more of that next week as we talk about it. So that is the end of the live stream today. We have quickly run out of time, but I was glad that we were able to illustrate all of the different mining gameplay loops here in this stream. We outfitted our dedicated Type 11 Prospector, which is definitely the ship that you want to use if you're going out and doing this. But that kind of gave you an introduction, and we're going to explore more of it next week. So I hope to see you there, and we can go through it. So, as always, thank you all for being here today. I love interacting with my chat. All of you are very, very enthused about asking questions and getting answers to them, and I hope I'm able to help out, because my community has always been great. And I always say that none of this would be possible without your support. So this is Commander Jorval saying, until next time, fare thee well.